Coultergeist here. So, you don't want to use the D and default pantheon of gods, but you do want to have a pantheon of gods because this is a fantasy setting. And you don't want no monotheistic, kumbaya, peace, love, and loads of garbage. You want gods you can fight a holy war over. You want a pantheon. You might want multiple pantheons. So how do you make a pantheon? Well, brother, that is the question I'm going to be trying to answer. Ultimately, designing a god is the same as designing any NPC character, with the allowance that your god is likely to have a devout following that strictly and religiously adheres to their wishes and wants. So how do you do that? How do you make an entire pantheon of gods? Man, I don't know, but I can tell you what I did. I brute forced it. Brute force. Absolute, just pounding my way through. Pick a number that sounds good. 2 for duality, 3 for the Trinity, and 12 if you read Percy Jackson growing up. Or just pick any number that you want. I picked 15 because it's divisible by 3 and it seemed like a nice, large enough number. Easy, right? I originally wrote 4 gods before I wrote any of the rest to represent the different religious beliefs of the kind of 4 cultural hemispheres in my world. North, west, east, south. I have more than one pantheon. So we have 4 pantheons, and each of the pantheons has 15 gods. So that's 60 gods. Plus, we actually made a dragon pantheon that has 5 gods because it's different than the rest. So that's 65 gods in total. So, using the 5e cleric domains as a guideline, make sure that you assign each god 2 domains and make sure that they're all vaguely equally divvied up so that you are left with 10 Arcana, Forge, Life, Light, Nature, Tempest, Trickery, and Twilight gods, and 11 Grave, Knowledge, Order, and War gods spread across the pantheons. Only 5 Death gods, because they specifically want to kill everything, and that's bad, and no Peace gods, because we hate that subclass. So you're going to make 65 names for each of those gods, minus the ones that we already made,
and minus the ones we stole from actual mythology.
Then you're going to make an epithet for each of those names, and then you're going to decide what they're actually the god of. That should give us a cool and evocative title line for each of those gods that looks something like this. Balrin, the Callous Hand, god of rings and serpents. Dromos, the Dusklark, god of roads and abandon. Hayunan, the anchor of the heavens, god of oaths and clouds. Altamrir, the spider wrapped in the web, god of devotion and scrolls. Coultergeist, the colorblind, god of YouTube and D&D. Write at least 5 lines of lore text for each of your gods, giving them a character and role in the greater cosmology of your world. And then months later, just before the campaign starts, you're going to want to write 3 pieces of micromyth fiction for each of the different pantheons, and then send them to each of your players dependent on which geographic region their character was born in. Decide on the alignment of each of your gods, not necessarily because alignment is a very good system, but because it does give your players a quick way to vibe check whether gods are good or bad. And then also make religious symbols for those gods so that you can identify the followers of those gods so that you can have cool character moments where, you know, they like unbutton the breast and they see that that guy has the symbol of the evil god Kilgore Death Squad, and then they're like, whoa! Write out your creation myth and the totality of history and existence, a brief overview that you are never going to show anyone because that history is so ancient that no one alive would know it, but it's still useful and informative to you as a GM, so we do it anyway. Rewrite most of the major arcana to better suit the narrative of your game, and then invent a system for astrology in your world and never tell your players. And remember, creativity is its own reward. Good night.